Fathers Who Bother is made possible in part by the contributions of listeners like you. To support Fathers Who Bother, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fathers Who Bother and become a monthly subscriber today. On the next episode of Fathers Who Bother, I talk to Philly's own DJ Qool Marv on naming his son Thelonious, co-parenting after divorce, the Christmas mix that became a bonding project, the one time he had to raise his voice, his son following in his musical footsteps, and more. Welcome to Fathers Who Bother, podcast for men who are dad as we want to be. My next guest is one of the main reasons I used to hit up House of Nubian for his buttermilk mixtapes in the 90s. Born and raised in Philadelphia, he started doing DJing in college at Emory University and grad school at Columbia University. By 1998, he started a 22-year run of being HBO's go-to DJ for their series premiere events, Emmy and Golden Globe parties. His talent is taking him across the globe in London, Barcelona, Abu Dhabi, Moscow. He is currently the resident DJ at the Apollo Theater Comedy Club and the Tuesday evening resident DJ at Soho House, New York City. He is also a proud brother of Omega Sci-Fi Fraternity Incorporated. But today he is going to talk about his gig as dad. Please welcome Qool Marv to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barrow, Jerry Barrow. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
And oh man, this is y'all understand to my previous listeners, if you've been a fan of the podcast, you remember how I evangelized Rich Medina when he was on here. Let me tell y'all, Marv is for me is the yin to Rich's yang. Like they both fulfill this part in my spirit musically. You got to understand, if you're not familiar, go to Podmatic, we're going to get him to plug all the links, but Google Qool DJ Marv, DJ Qool Marv. If you're not familiar, just sit back and ingest some of these mixes, this man, or if you have a chance to hear him live, if you hear Soul in the Horn advertised or anything where he's going to be playing, make it your business to get there. I just had to say that.
Oh man,
he's one of the DJs that saved my life. This guy right here. So this is a great moment for me to talk to. I don't think we've had a chance to talk in like maybe 10 years.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time because we were talking about those HBO gigs last time back when I was at the Urban Daily.
Yeah.
And it's been a good run for you with those. Like
it's crazy. It only stopped because of the pandemic, which is it's mind blowing to me. That started all the way back in '98. Did two parties for them back to back, like about a month apart. First one was for John Leguizamo. He had a theater production called Freak, and then they adapted it for TV. And then the Chris Rock show season rap party. That's where all the cast, crew, people behind the scenes, editors, camera people. But quick flashback, when I got that gig, I was like, oh my God, the Chris Rock show, cool. And then I was like, oh my God, Grandmaster Flash is the DJ on the Chris Rock show.
Right.
And, at this point, it's 98. I've only been in New York since 92. I've watched New York like everybody else from afar, from Philadelphia. So I'm that kid that went to go see Crush Crew with his grandma. I saw my grandma was like, let's go to the movies. And we saw Crush Crew. I remember seeing Run DMC, the part where Jam Master Jay, run. I remember that Sheila E. scene. So I had these fantasies about New York. So that leap from a kid looking at the screen, like, wow, Run DMC, New York City, wow, to being in New York City and for educational purposes, for me, that meant more than just the classroom. And because I came in just like ready to just submit to everything New York had to offer, I was like a student of life. While here, my refuge music. I'm also that kid that went to his room and just blended records until I got tired. And maybe looking back on it, that was how I dealt with uncertainty, boredom, entertaining myself, whatever, but you wrap it all up in one. And I realized, oh, Okay, that went together. That was smooth. Okay, that might be all right. Tapes, gigs downtown, West Village, East Village, meeting some huge people literally within a week of stepping foot into New York City as a student. I met Bobito on like my fourth day at Columbia University, which is pretty incredible uh, doorway to that world. So my whole year there, 1 year intensive program in journalism, I was at the Stretch and Bobito show every Thursday night. So I was retired in class on Friday
Oh
every
wow.
week, but it was a sacrifice that was worth it. I was there when Nas came through the first time.
Word?
But oh yeah, Souls
Wow.
of Mischief, where the Artifacts used to come up there on a regular basis and just chill. Curious George. So if Bob and Stretch here, they'd be like, yep, yep. And
That's
they were
that
like, yeah,
history,
Marv just sat
man.
there quiet because I was like, this is real. This ain't even like the video. This ain't BT. This is real dudes, right? But so, another great person, Glenn G. Man Holt, rest in peace, fraternity brother, who another one. I sent a letter to Flavor Unit Records, Shakim Queen Latifah, to ask for records. Hey, I'm a young DJ. Can I get on your promo list? I sent a card with the letter. The card had a bulldog, one of super basic business cards, and he was like, "What's that card about? What's the bulldog?" And I said, "Oh, you even asking about that? I know where you going with this." So instantaneous friends.
Yeah.
Uh, like, and
That's like my
like,
brothers with the Pharaoh.
yeah,
Anything, any member of any card or anything, you walk in their office and you see a Pharaoh on the wall, like, what you got a Pharaoh on the wall for? And
there
it's like,
you
oh,
go.
okay. Then that starts the
Go.
conversation. So I know
But
what you talk. I know
it's
what you mean.
so fast forward.
Mhm.
He at the time was doing street promotion for Geffen Records, who had just signed the Roots. So he was walking around with boxes of the Roots album. I believe I have somewhere in this room probably 5 white label full albums, double vinyl,
Right.
Roots first album. But he was like an ambassador to New York, to the record industry, nightlife, even introduced me to DJ Spinner. Um, you mentioned Rich Medina before we signed on. We're both from Philly. I did something called Buttermilk in Philly, BUTTAMILK. Google that, you'll find out. One of the
Google
cities,
that.
you know, Jill Scott was on early, before she had a record deal. Buttermilk had events. And Rich was basically my sort of co-DJ. I was the DJ for Buttermilk. Um, if I couldn't get down to Philly, I'd ask Rich, hey, can you do our poetry slam this month, whatever. So he would do that. And Rich would confirm himself that the first time he got money put into his palm for a gig in New York, I asked him to do a spot called Bar 6, my very first gig in New York, regular gig. I had something going on and I asked him if he could do it for me. And he did it. And I didn't know at the time that was the first time somebody put money in his hand for a gig. So connections run deep,
So
run
I didn't
deep.
even know that. I just know you guys for your work and how you both touched me spiritually, like with your music. So that makes perfect sense what you're telling me.
Yeah. And
It
it's
makes
kind of,
all the sense in the world.
I'll be honest, it's on purpose. When you say yin and yang, that's on purpose because I see what he's doing. So I don't need to repeat what he's doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I see he's focused. He's putting all his skills to use. So I have a lot of respect. I have that sort of I don't know, maybe classic uh, respect that a person would have for another who's really good at something. So that's why there was never like a Qool Marv Afrobeat party. It was like, oh no, that's
That's
done.
rich. Yeah.
You run with that. And then also you applaud that because the world of music, you need contributors and people to cover all the bases, right? So I know there's some bases you can't like take, and one person can take it in like a Prince or a Michael Jackson. You can't be like, I own that. But everybody's going to do that kind of tribute. But if you put your mind to it and you get into, I don't know, lovers rock, you go deep, and you become the superior DJ for that, I'm going to listen just to be, first of all, entertained and feel the music, and then to be like, oh, what's that?
Yes.
Just to work some things in future sets, but I wouldn't go forth trying to do what that person does.
Right.
So that's where you sort of unconsciously probably picked up that we're connected, but we both do different things.
Yep.
And that's very much, I believe, on purpose.
For
started,
real.
started in like 95.
Right. So you started in 95, but like maybe it seems like a few years after you find out that you're having a kid, if my math is right.
This is all right. This is where the tissues may come in, because the epic this story is November 13, 1999. I was in Manchester, England. Thanks to DJ Spinner. DJ Spinner had been there a few months before. He had a cassette tape that I had given him. I went to maybe the second or third wonderful party, and it was an LES. Place may have been called Baby Jupiter. So I give him the tape. He's busy. I don't even bother him to give a pound or whatever or talk, because that's how I respect DJs, because he's doing work. His imagination at work, hands at work. Brother can't be trying to hear how your day was and all that. So I put the tape down, enjoyed myself, bounce. A few weeks later, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, that tape. Hey, I played it. I was in the car with these dudes from Manchester. We're going to another city." They're like, "Who's that? Who's that?" Really? And it was kind of a chill out tape. It was one of those House of Nubian 90 BPM, 80 BPM things. You can't imagine how it felt to get that call, probably around October 99. And I'm with my son's mother. So I'm feeling real good because we're new, and this huge opportunity to play in a club overseas in Manchester, England. That gig happens, and I go over well. Super nervous, but just kind of went within myself and just said, I can do this. I'll just do what I do naturally. And I'm gonna look up and they're gonna be like, "We're with you, brother," or I'm gonna be running from cans of beers coming at me. So Manchester is for real. They don't play. They're not playing.
Right.
So I finished and I'm like elated. I'm like, wow, here we go. The whole world opens up now. Get back to where I was staying, and it was with a gentleman named Mark Ray, who was part of a group called Ray and Christian. And part of the reason I ended up in Manchester is I had some of their songs on mixtapes, and they had heard about me, but I think Spinner knowing me sort of double confirmed it for them to invite me over. So I'm back at his place. I check email, and it's like from my son's mother, and it says, I have someone inside of me, and someone growing inside of me. And I knew exactly what that meant. So at the gig of my life that opened a whole portal to the world, and within 2 hours of that, in the come down, I find out that I have a child on the way. So it was a life-changing day and night, and that began the journey. Thelonious Hiawatha Coleman. His mom wanted the name Thelonious. She was like, "Thelonious," and I was like, "Okay." I mean, nothing. I drew blanks on like another counter name. I said, "But please, my dad's father, his name is Hiawatha, and he was known as Reverend Hiawatha Coleman in Philadelphia. So my son's mother is Native American and Italian. So I thought it would be appropriate to honor my granddad, honor his part of his heritage. So Thelonious Hiawatha Coleman. Conceived somewhere in November 99, came along July 14th, 2000.
Cancer season. Yes.
Season. 10 days after that, it was real close.
That's so dope.
It was
That's
a
so
little
dope.
late, but I was really happy it wasn't a same birthday. I didn't really want that.
Right.
I wanted him to have his own day.
Mm-hmm.
I was when I realized it would be in the July, I was encouraged by that because I thought we might have some, just energy, just connection, just based on that.
For sure.
Intuition, and I was right because there are many times along the path where I understood where he was with very few words. And I could tell because there's this look your child gives you, their eyes look a little different, they open up a little wider. And you see a little bit of that, like, 7 and under face where, as a parent, you can do no wrong. Just like, oh, okay, you just heard me. You just heard me. And that is, that's how a child feels love, when they look at you and they see that you've broken out of do this, okay, handle your business. And you crack open enough to hear what they're actually saying or caring about. And I do think that being close, in July, definitely played a role in just my sensing what needed to be addressed, what needed adjustment, what needed stern, and what needed I don't know, force. And what I mean force is just extra bass in the voice, and in a certain voice that's really on ice until it's like, oh, Daz has that voice.
Oh yeah.
So and I don't use it. I don't just wear it out because you can desensitize a child with that.
Absolutely. That's
And
the key.
yeah, and then they sort of figure that out, and then I tell you, I'm just sort of freewheeling.
Sure.
So fast forward to 2005. My son's mother said, I don't know. I don't like where this is going. I want to change the direction. So I'm going to be out. So that's a lot of words for I got left. That was a head crack. That was a lightning strike. That was hit by a train, whatever metaphor I can come up with. But I know I was blown all the way apart by that because for the first time in my life, I'm like 35 at this point. I've had to sort of reevaluate what I've latched on as true and meaningful, and what my intent is in life. So that's a lot of words, not specific, but let's just say I had a certain attitude about I don't know, just an issue that we had was because I was going for this DJ thing. And it's very unpredictable, very unstable. It's feast or famine at times. And with the child, those waivers of stability are that's extremely uncomfortable. So if you're on your own, you can withstand that. But when you have a family, you're really asking your family to ride that roller coaster with you. So she just sort of evaluated that and was just like, this roller coaster, it can be fun, but it could also be worrisome. And she just wanted to live a different life and have different concerns. And it started in August 2005. So what also started was what? Because I sort of was presented with a version of me that I didn't recognize. And I was like, oh man. And then my mom had this funny thing she would say. She said, don't look at me with a dumb look. I totally had a dumb look. I was just like, what? Why didn't you say this earlier? Why didn't you talk about this before? And what I found out is I just had a fair amount of unconscious behavior. So that can be formed by, so you're born into a household, your first role models are your parents. Then outside your house, your family, outside your family, your block. So whoever you come across as a male figure, they're going to shape your views. And if you ever came across anyone that had anything less than respect for a woman, then that person's impact words, they become part of your alchemy. And you're just kind of rolling with it, and nothing really smacks you in the face to make you consider how you process the way you feel toward or act toward women or act in a relationship. So
Was this your father for you? Was that example your father or someone else?
for me, it definitely was my father. And that's a great question, because part of the reason I was really cracked open was when I was young, I was a mama's boy. So if my mom was upset, I was like, man, what you do now, Dad? And what you do now, Dad, was probably a thought that I had constantly until my late 20s, 52 now. And my late 20s, I went to see my dad, and he was, uh, explaining to me. He said, son, I don't know how to say this, but it takes two. Because he could see me looking at him like, what you doing, man? What's happening? And he just looked at me like, I think you're old enough to understand this. It takes two. And for the first time in my life, I thought about my sort of unconscious favoritism toward my mom, and having a not a bad relationship, but just this relationship where I thought um, there were too many instances of friction or something going on. But nonetheless, they stayed together through that, and they evolved. He evolved. Um, he was also a Vietnam War veteran. Before he went to Vietnam, in Philly, he played high school basketball with Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Nice. Wow.
And was a baseball person. So from what family tells it, he apparently got a letter from the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I don't know what happened. Something wasn't clicking for him at that age, and he went to the Army and got injured. Actually had a military burial in 2009, all those years later. And that's another subject. But his journey from a person who basically was dealing with general Black manhood, right? Then you add, go to war, come back, and talk about strong silent type. I didn't even know about it basically until the last half year of his life, that the military was going to have anything to do with his care and his send off. Like, dude never spoke about this.
Wow.
Had a picture in the uniform, nothing. So he came back clearly like, what happened there, it stays there, but it also stayed in here. And it made me sort of rewind and replay every time. I was like, come on, Dad, what you doing? Because that adds a layer of understanding. So
you got more empathy for him.
Yeah. So for me, when my son's mother was ready to go, I was like, oh God. Because I think at the time he clearly preferred his mom. She was when we met, was earning a master's degree in early childhood education. So she had a way with children, and easily got into motherhood and doing all the right things that you need to do. And she's absolute massive. Uh, the scale is tipped massively on her end for his academic accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was going to go, I thought, oh my God, my son's gonna be looking at me like he's gonna be looking at me like he's looking at my dad, like, come on, dad, what you doing? Right? Oh, my heart sank. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'm not losing my kid. Because then I started to have this flash forward. So I had the flashbacks, then the flash forward to him at like 10, him at 15. And I just try to like picture the relationship that I wanted, how I felt at 10, how I felt at 15, what I wish I had heard or knew at 10 or 15. Right away, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about my son's, first of all, he's born and he's living in Washington Heights. Um, and all I can see is teenage years and this, society puts this conflict on us. It's not true. It's not really real. Every commercial you see got kids in it, parents, the kids are like, oh, you dumb parents, or they're not even looking at them, they're on the gadgets or whatever. Or for a long time,
Right.
people have been playing with that image.
Right.
But I think sometimes people kind of feel like, well, that's just how it is. Your kid just goes and they get strange. People have all things they say to explain to themselves why the relationship, the everyday, all good relationship from baby, toddler, little kid, preteen, all of a sudden they want to go in a room. In those early thoughts, I committed to something. I said, well, I feel like if I look at my parent, I'm concerned about something. They don't hear me. They just do some generic parent speak. That I believe is the beginning of the crack, because
Mm-hmm.
the child is then saying, I see this. I ask them if they see this. They say, look at that. That's when the child's like, all right.
Kids can spot the jig. Kids can
Like,
spot
right.
the jig early. They may not be able to articulate it, but they can feel it and express it like something's off, something's wrong,
Yes. So I knew that going forward, I was going to have to really tend to what had been sort of revealed to me as shortcomings, because at 35, that's a lot of life lived, and tomorrow's not guaranteed. For some people, maybe me, that's halfway through, maybe more than halfway through. So I don't want to go forth in this like, oh man, am I going to just be this guy that I am who I am? It is what it is, and that's how it's going to be. I've seen that attitude, and I've watched the arc of the lives of that mindset. And if you're not a star entertainer or athlete, if you're just living real life and inflexible about certain things, then at some point you run into a wall with that inflexibility. So that could be health. It could be, an attitude about something. I'm just not going to do that. Why? Because I'm not. Well, at some point you have to really answer that question. So I got into a mode of really answering questions. In the meantime, the co-parenting started, and I'm like, oh man, he's going to come over here wishing he was back home with mom. So I was feeling real insecure, feeling real like, oh boy, is history going to repeat itself? So I was real humble, actually. And I really got into the entire day role. So when you're together with mother, there's teamwork, we're supposed to be, but you're jumping in at times. Now it's like, oh, wake them up, get them washed up, get them dressed, the breakfast. Okay, get out in enough time to get trained, to get to school, and all that stuff. A certain discipline came with that. not being able to take those moments off. Okay, she's doing that with them now, and what I did was because I was just really at first motivated by fear, because that fear eventually morphed into something else, emboldened, because I was seeing that our connection was solid. It wasn't strained. It was natural. Um, a fact, especially at that age, 5, 6, your child just loves you. Like you could be a really, mean, ornery person. And I tell you, your child, they don't know anything other than to love you.
Yeah.
So you can do something with that. You can keep on being that. Get away from me. I don't, Dad is bad time right now. Leave me alone. Or you can feel like, you know what? Dad time is some bullshit. You know what? Come here, son. You know, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna do this. Cause there's been plenty of time for dad time. There's been plenty of time for me time, me to do what I want to do. And I knew it's like all or partial or nothing. And partial would feel like going through the motions, like passing time. Okay, time to go back to your mom. Nah. So I would do stuff like turn the phone off.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't like some crazy sacrifice. You're talking about after school. So I had the time, I had the daytime. He gets back. It was, let's say, 4 o'clock. He's doing homework. So I got the solo piano music on or something, quiet. And I read at that time, or I just do some work similar to what he's doing. So he's studying and he's looking at me doing the paperwork, paying the bills, whatever. But I just created that environment. I never, ever disrupted it, never changed it. There was never a day like, your dad got DJ tonight, so I'm sorry, son, I got to bang these beats while you hope you can concentrate. Hope you can concentrate.
Right.
No, I handled my business before he came over, or I handled my business when he went to bed. But from when we walked in the apartment, from picking up from school to, all right, it's bedtime, read the book, the last book read,
Right.
that was all his time, because I'm looking at it like, okay, well, that's 4 to basically 9. It's just 5 hours. Then you got the next morning and the commute. Then we have a weekend get together. So that's more time. It's like all day, Sunday into Monday. And again, I would just clear the schedule, not answer texts, not pick up the phone, whatever, because I wanted him to look at me and see me looking at him. And I'm fortunate because those formative years for him were like '05 to '08. And we had the phones. I could take pictures then, but that was before the
Or Twitter.
Share everything culture.
Right. Before
So
Instagram,
yeah,
before. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I didn't really consider at all. I mean, I had a like actual camera with film. I took pictures that way. So
Right.
yeah, it took plenty of pictures, but there wasn't this sort of always ever present instruction from technology to
Right.
show people my life. I took a lot of pride into basically stepping out of the stream and being all the way there, because that was the least I could do. You're talking going from 7 days, 24/7, 365 to about, I don't know, 16 hours a whole week. So if you can't be like, son, that's all your time.
Right.
I would have felt like I hadn't grown as a person. I would have felt like I was putting my relationship with him at risk. That
How did
he
you talk to him about the divorce? He's only 5 or 6 years old. How do you, because I know there are men listening to this who are like, how do you do this, bruh?
well, that I believe at the outset of the separation, uh, me and his mother were, we had known each other for 5 or 6 months before he was on the way. So we were like, okay, let's get married and let's just do it. So we just dove in. We didn't have a courtship or even a real true getting to know each other period, extended period. It was months. Um, so all along, it was just sort of this slow erosion and difference of how she wanted to live and how I was living and what my possibilities look like. Um, that was something to straddle, but we always were even keel. Like we always had a fairly smooth vibe. Like, yeah, she's just like a mellow person as well. So it wasn't this sort of heavy disagreement laden.
Wasn't fire and ice.
Yeah, it
It
wasn't
was
that
just,
at all. It was almost like, oh shucks, this is not working.
mm,
Oh, it hurt, but it was that tone.
mm.
So it wasn't like, I'm the hell up out of here, bro. It was like, it was just like, I don't like the direction and I just need a change.
Mm.
So I knew that right away, the gut punch of that, yeah, because it's like your ego, all that stuff. Everything you thought you did right, thought you was about that, gave you reason. That's in question.
Mm.
So I didn't really talk directly about it until he was about 9 or so.
Mm.
And what I did was I just got into the action of being dad, and just let being dad be the energy, the relationship that he and I have, dad and son. Um, One of the first things I did, which is a magical story. So I'm in my feelings, I'm in my thoughts, like, oh my God, how do I prevent this thing where my son wants to just be at his mom's, or he's like, oh man, I gotta go to dad's house. I want to come to dad's house, be cool.
Ah.
So yeah, within the first, we separated it, and we had a conversation in August. She moved in
Mm.
October. So October to December was a real transformation. So I'm accepting the new reality, and then I'm trying to craft a relationship, where we have one, where it's we're just naturally close, and we preserve that and we keep it, and it's not something that we're cool while you're a little boy and then we butt heads and that whole thing. I didn't want that, so I'm just projecting. One of the first things I could think of was he loves Christmas music, so I thought, oh, I could like put all his favorite Christmas things on like a mix, and I could ask him to, approve the songs, and be like, "You like this? Should I put this on it? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Temptations." Like, yeah. Um, and it became this project that we did together. So this is really only a month and a half into the new life. Dive into this holiday mixtape, and I just thought, okay, we'll do this together. We'll play it this first Christmas as a two household family. This will be the thread. This will be like the glue. Yeah. This will be the thread. So he took to it, and part of it was recording his voice. And he's like, "Hi, this is Thelonious, and wishing you happy holidays or something." And I'm so glad I did that, because when I play it back now, I'm like, oh my God, there he is at 5.
Ah, that's the
It always
best.
it always hits me,
You're right.
but people don't what happened that when it's all said and done, it's very possible words written about me might say, Cool Marv made one of the best Christmas mixes, which I'll be cool with. I'll be totally cool with.
Right.
because what that meant. And it was one of those things where that wasn't the intention. I put it out there in the world, and people were like, "Oh, I like this. Oh my God, my mom likes this. Oh my God, the kids." And it is in this backwards, I did not even know this was going to happen kind of way. For a lot of people who followed me as a DJ, Christmas, I get a run and they in their home every Christmas, to the whole fam. So if people ever wonder, like, how's Qool Marv like never anywhere, but this dude is, oh, he's still doing gigs. Like, what? How is he nowhere? And like, how does this work? It's because I enter people's mind every year at Christmas time because the original OG story was I was scared to death of losing the love of my son. So that was my first attempt to do something, involve him in it, so that when this is played at Christmas gatherings in our family going forward, it would always sort of bring them back to when we made this. We went on to make 3 more of those. True story. I was DJing in the Village in Manhattan. Some friends were at the gig. A friend of theirs said, "Wait, that's the guy with the Christmas mix?" Came over, was like, "Oh my God, who puts that much work into a Christmas mix?" And I'm like,
"You do."
And she said, "You know what? You ever been to Abu Dhabi?" True story. True story. This woman was listening to it over there, met me, was just like, "I hear what you're doing. You're creative. I got this media summit. Can you come over and be the music director?"
Wow.
That was 2011. So that's 6 years after. Right. I'm like this, for a couple of months trying to figure out how the beginning of my relationship as a co-parent dad and my son will go. So we fast forward to 9 years old. We took a trip to Miami, and this is a testament also of his mother and I. So his mother usually takes this trip. So she calls me like, "I can't do it. Something else is going on. Can you take?" And I'm like, "What? Oh yeah, of course." I'm sure some people out there like, "You had that conversation with your ex?" She was like, "Go to Miami for me." I got stories to tell, even about that. But while in Miami at 9 years old, I said, "Son, we should talk." I chose this time because people say there's a general saying that kids understand more than you realize that they do. Mm-hmm. So I took that to heart as truth.
Right.
It's been repeated so often. And what happens in life, there's a lot of things that are repeated and that are true. But we don't try and test the tried and tested. Like we just say, "Okay, that's the truth. Yeah, I get it." The application to my life, optional. So I was like, application of truth to my life is not optional. It is required. It is 100. It is always on, because I felt like I fell and I had to rebuild, and I had to rebuild stronger, and I'm the same person. So I'm like, man, how do I do this? It took a lot of acceptance, first of all, of the situation. It took also respecting and not putting onto my son's mother this responsibility of why my life was the way it was at the time, because that's real foul. Because she ain't really had nothing to do with that. Your choices got you to where you were or where you are. So a lot of people have trouble with that. That's kind of like the first thing you got to do is accept responsibility. So I accepted responsibility for where I thought I didn't do well or out and out failed. Yeah, I went through a process from '05 to '09 to get to the point where I could speak to my son about what happened, because I had to be in the truth about what happened, and I couldn't have a version, and I couldn't have a slant. I couldn't have a, well, if your mom had did this or your mom. It was not about that, because what I'm modeling for him at that time is taking full responsibility.
Mm.
So I told him in words similar to what I mentioned earlier, like there were areas where I didn't do well, and there were areas where I just failed. And I understood that your mom wasn't comfortable with going forth in life, with that much uncertainty.
Right.
And at the time, I I couldn't answer the question, what happens next? Where does this go? Because um, um, I'm I'm sort of trailblazing in a sense, but also I'm trapped because I stopped working jobs in 1996. I had two jobs, so we're into 2005, six, seven, eight.
Mm.
10 years out the workforce. I got to keep going with the DJ thing.
Right.
Um, so I'm trying to explain the really hard realization that what I am doing actually did have an impact
Mm.
on being able to keep a family together.
Mm.
So I just explained that, and I also explained that that he's been been a really good kid the whole time. Um, he I want to say something that people are gonna be like, nah, man, you lying. They might throw something at the screen. They're not gonna believe it. But internet, go to work because I got receipts. I have not raised my voice to my son since he was nine. Nine. That means we got through preteens, high school, and to 21 without me, boy, without one of those.
I believe it.
And the reason why is that work that I put in 5 to 9, that presence work. So and that comes out in a lot of different ways. It's all kinds of ways to spend time together. So
When they value your opinion, when they value what you think, it
yes,
makes talking to them and disciplining them that much easier. I'm not saying my kids are perfect, but I may not have the spotless not record, but I don't recall having to yell at them often. Like we've had some blowups for sure, especially during the cell phone era when he finally got a phone. Oof. And trying to manage those expectations and calling him and he's not picking up and we're trying to get through to him and we can't get through to him. Oh, we definitely got at him. But in general, they were both really good kids. But so I can see why you would say that, but that early, if they care about what you think, it matters. It's easier to discipline them.
Yeah, and it's I'll tell you what I raised my voice at 9. We were in Philadelphia Thanksgiving weekend, and we went to the Ben Franklin Museum. Went to the cafeteria. They had some real basic pizza. He didn't like it, and we had a conversation before about food you don't like and how we deal with that. So he wasn't really heeding the advice, and I'm just watching this, and we've all watched this. They won't say that they don't want to eat it, and all kinds of things happen, acting, falling out, crying, just sitting there, all the stuff. So I just say, and I'm kind of annoyed because I feel like I thought we were done with this. And basically I was like, I thought we were done with this, with a lot of bass in the voice and other people in the museum hear me. Well, if you don't speak up about what you want to change, nothing happens. Nothing changes. So speak up. Right? I put that special voice on, and he's just like, they out of breath crying. And he's like, I don't like the pizza. I was like, how'd that feel? And look what happened. You didn't get in trouble. I got you. You know what I mean? I got you. It's all good. And I knew right then and there that I didn't want to create an environment where my boy was going to be breaking down into tears. So right there was an evolution, and there was a moment where he felt vulnerable. He felt like he was disappointing dad, doing something bad, doing something wrong, doing none of those things. And it's important to throw that bass, but then just like the DJ, drop the bass out. After you done that, let it breathe. Don't overtalk. Co-parenting and that 16-hour a week got me very crazy. I would literally think about like, okay, this is how I'm gonna address that. I wouldn't practice it, write it out or whatever, but I got very good at close quotes. It's almost like the journalism back experience kicked in, or even knowing how to interview folks. You know how to close your thoughts. You speak to your kid about something very important. You want to create that echo. You want to create that reverb. Think about throwback. Okay, you're old enough. I'm 52, so I saw Superman in the movie theater, the Christopher Reeve one, Fortress of Solitude. It's a Jor-El.
Yep.
He's in the crystals, son. You know what I mean? That's the inspiration. So he's getting the knowledge from dad off, in the distant galaxy. Well, consciousness is like that. Consciousness is like a galaxy in a sense. Constellations. So what you want swirling in your child's galaxy, the stars are these nuggets, these gems. The stars shine this gem of, speak up about it. He put that in practice immediately. First time some food was in front of him, I don't like this. And it was like, all right.
What was it? What was it?
Oh, I don't know. It could have been just some vegetable or a different meat other than chicken. But then I'll be like, there you go. And what happens is that there's a confidence, because I'm parenting also looking at the way society is rolling. And I see how internet groupthink is kind of invading people. And I'm like, wow, he's really going to have to understand that, what he has been taught, what he comes to understand, what he learns, like his world, his experience from his parents, schools, and all that stuff, it's going to get challenged beyond that bubble, beyond, the world we create for them. And I didn't want him to be completely unprepared for that. Yeah. So I wanted him to be able to go out and go forth in the world, sure. Like not like, I don't know, maybe, do you think I should do that is it's a natural way to be. Even the most assured people got to being that way by having the process of, I don't know. I go through that all the time, and I feel pretty sure about my abilities, but I still check myself like, can I do that better? So when I reflect on why I never really had to get upset, I'm like, that handled so much. Just, it gave him a voice, and then his voice was heard, and then action was taken. So that's super powerful. And then he got a hug, and it was all good. It wasn't like, remember that time you cried in the museum? At the family reunion? Because that's where the kid go in the room, and then they begrudgingly hug you back because they're like, you hurt my feelings, making jokes. Like I really felt that. So it's I think just being sort of tuned in to how they are, and knowing part of the acceptance of being a co-parent single dad was, all right, this is how he is. And we all go through this. Oh, why do you do that, child? You're supposed to do it like this, right? And then they do it their way again. And if you got it in you, you might see that there's a method to their madness. You might see that they got a different way. And that different way is okay. Because if the different way is always raises eyebrows or gets the side eye, then again, it's kind of like a little stab to their confidence, a little stab to even trust. So, my son loved basketball, but I got to say, he was the kind of kid that didn't really play on the courts in the streets. It was like programs and things like that, very participation oriented, so, not fierce competition oriented. Like everybody plays, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we went to some courts, and it wasn't like Rucker or anything. It was just like Riverside Park. And I said, son, I'm just going to say this to you. You're not a tough guy. You're a lover, not a fighter. You are very friendly. Okay. You are a reasonable person. Okay. You like to laugh and smile.
That's that Cancer. That's the Cancer zodiac.
These courts, so there's going to be kids there that are not living your life. There's going to be kids there that don't get 3 meals. There's going to be kids there that, they're having a tough time with mom and dad. There's going to be a kid there that's having a tough time at school, and they're going to want to get their energy out. And I'm saying this to him. He's, I don't know, maybe 9, 10 or so, on the cusp, because maybe he'll do junior high ball or something like that. And we go to the streets, and it was just like every kid was Russell Westbrook to my he's catching the ball. I mean, mean mug. It was, and he was just like distressed. He didn't cry. He tried, but he didn't get that in the streets. The camp rules. Okay, you go over there, and he run over there, pass it to him.
Right.
All that stuff goes out the window. It's a whole different mindset.
Right.
And I said, you're not the hood kid who's hungry. You're not that kid. You're not that person. I said, can you do something mean to anybody? And he was just like, not really. And I was like, can you just snatch the ball from somebody? Like, give me that. And, and he's like, I don't like to. I was like, so now you can imagine as a dad, every dad's like, hey, if my kid can ball, that's a small little dream we all have, athlete. I accepted that. I wasn't like, oh, God, my son is garbage. Damn. In front of him, like he ain't there, because people do that.
Right.
Nah, I was just like, oh, that's all good. It's all good. I said, just play. You like to shoot around. You like to shoot hoops. That's what I did when I was a kid. Went to schoolyard. 3, 2, 1. Be that. Don't let the actual game experience in the hood deter you from just wanting to shoot around and play. And to this day, he still shoots around and plays and stuff like that. So, but it was, I wasn't like, oh no, hell no, son. Get back out there. Toughen up. Let's go. Right? Because what if that's not his personality? What if that's your personality, Dad?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
But you've done something right.
They're not going to be you. They're not going to be you.
No.
They're not going to be you.
No.
What they can be is in the trying to be you, fractured to the point where I know, people 30, 40, 50 years old having conversations about how their parents wanted them to do this and they did their thing. And there probably wasn't a settlement. There was just like side eye the whole time. Oh, you still doing that? Every time you go to family reunion, you still doing that? You still like, I don't know if that question is encouraging or not. Is like, are you waiting for it to stop? Because I'm still doing that. I'm keeping it moving. I knew any dad dreams, I had to shift them. One of the ways that I shifted my sort of son being a star athlete thing, because I'm a person who still holds a record that was set in 1987 in 110 meter high hurdles in my high school.
Wow.
The Virginia State Championships, gold medal. I have a gold medal from the Penn Relays. I played high school football, ran college and track, right? So I actually, and I understood this, was kind of like the opposite. So even though we got the cancer energy, I had a different upbringing where it was like, go outside and go take your lumps, all that stuff. So I actually asked a track coach years later. I was like, the hurdles. He's like, hurdlers got certain mindsets. I think they're a little crazy. And I was like, that explains things. Because when the hurdle race was presented to me as a freshman in college, in high school, I was like, okay, where they at? Let's do this. I wasn't like, I got to jump over that 10 times,
right,
and then get to the finish line. Oh, I was like, well, okay, how we do this?
Right.
So he, with all this sort of nurture, care, protection, the bubble, that was absent completely from his life. Just go outside and just go for it and be physically, and you actually develop certain strengths you don't even know you have until you get into organized sports just from running around. So I had that, but he didn't, and I understood that. So I wasn't like, boy, you're gonna get good. I was like, okay, because you're good at some other stuff. You're really good, and this is the flip script, and this is the information of my childhood and everything coming in. You're good with these books, great at reading, great in school. I was planting seeds at like 8, 9, 10 about what else he could do. So he's not feeling like inferiority complex. Oh, I'm not the popular kid. I'm not the athletic kid. I'm the bookworm. Because you know what the bookworm rep is in America, and it's whack. It's stupid. I remember going through having to sort of check my own education sometimes. If I got back home, oh, what's up, them big words? People really trying to make you ashamed because you like learn, or like you gave a percentage of black away because you learned. I'm like, come on, man.
I know that life.
I don't understand that. But he wasn't going to go through that. Right. I was going to be like, your brain is good, bro. Your brain is good. I'm feeling your brain. So I'm like, standing ovation to your brain. And he was, receptive to like piano lessons, things like that. He had a pretty good imagination, drawing, not pure art, but just creative. He probably came up with fair estimate, a minimum of 100 different characters in old comic books. So he
that's my two.
This easy literary slant. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna develop that, because how many geniuses get pointed in another direction because it ain't what dad think they should be doing, or dad's experience wasn't that as a child, so dad can't relate. So instead of stepping out of what you know only and learning something, you would be like, you know, young boys, you need to be doing this. And, you know, you're going to force that square peg into the round hole. And, you know, you're satisfied. The kids like probably talk to friends, yeah, because my dad wanted me to do this. So I was also projecting and thinking about my son not saying, because my dad wanted me to do this. I wanted him to do everything because he decided to do it. So the next sort of game-changing talk came around 14. He had been through middle school, and I think he was at a school that had trimesters. So after his second trimester in ninth grade, he got like a couple of B's, I believe, in his very first report card in seventh grade. So by ninth grade, he cleaned up the B's. That's the wrong way to say it. He upgraded those B's into A's, but he did it like right away. So seventh grade all through eighth grade, first trimester, ninth grade, second trimester, and second trimester ends around Thanksgiving time. So we're on a Thanksgiving trip to Philly, and I said, "Son, you're very good at school. You've had A's ever since you know you had those B's a couple of years ago." I said, "It appears you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing as far as your study schedule. You know what you're doing as far as making time to read, do your work." I was like, "You got this. You got this. You've mastered high school." I told him that second semester into ninth grade because I wanted to instill confidence in his methods, because his methods, they showed results. So it wasn't just like, get him, son, A's, A's, internet, A's, A's. Oh, yeah. It's like, dude, them A's, I saw you do that again and again and again and again. It's not changing. Then I dropped this other jewel on him. I said, so here's where, since I said you're good at school, you got this, you got it figured out, you're now doing this for you. And this is where the hurdler track thing came in. The next race, you're trying to do better than your last time. Them other people don't even matter. I did the hurdle race. So dudes is falling, clank, 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 spikes coming at you, legs, arms. Metaphor for everything I need. Because serene mind and focus gets you through that race, right? I'm like, you have the mindset of a champion. You got this. You're doing this for you now, because we just keep seeing A's, right? But you know that you got the A's. There's another paragraph. There's another poll. There's another formula. Whatever you got to do, you normalize this. This is your normal. This is your regular. Like, this is without effort. So now create sort of new levels for yourself to reach on this path. The A thing is done. It's a wrap. Me and your mom love it. Hooray. We jump for joy, but we're good. This is now yours. Your education is not ours. It's yours. 14. Kept them A's all the way through high school, right?
Nice.
He had was diagnosed with an arrhythmia at 15. Now, can you imagine 15? people curl up in the fetal position for less, a lot less. He faced that like a man. Doctor told him, we're going to need to operate. We need to go in there and remove this tiny, tiny portion of your heart. To his face, to me and his mom. I'm looking at my son, look at the doctor. I was like, hell yeah. I'm like about to cry in the doctor's office because I'm looking at him rise up to face surgery. And he had a choice. They were like, we could do it in a few months, or we could wait, we could try this other thing. He was like, I want to take care of it. Just chin up. And the first time he had a little bass in his voice, I was like, oh man. That's where I'm sort of hitting my fatherhood checklist. Fortitude, guts, heart, inner strength, composure, focus, self-management, because that's what I know. I've been really fortunate to live a life where half of it has been on my terms at this point.
Right.
So, but I also know what I could have done better. I also know what I could have tweaked in my own career. I also know what I would have liked to have heard as a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old. And all that alchemy was coming out in our interactions. So when Kobe passed, my son is a sophomore at this point at Yale. And at this point, he had, we got the grades from the first semester of the sophomore year. And I'm like, boy, you at Yale, straight A's. Like, this ain't, like, Yale can't crack the code. You're like, all right, come on with it. Let's do this. Right. And for so many reasons, when you talk about the way society works, when people buy in admissions, with people questioning why you're there, he said himself, I know I belong. Because I can say that to him, his mom can say it to him, everybody can say it to him. You belong, you great, you special, you smart, all of that. There's a lot of people who lavish praise on, who feel some kind of way about themselves that's not on par with how people see them. So one of my challenges as a father is to sort of very subversively, very subtly promote wholeness as a person, mental, physical, nutrition.
Right.
So the whole heart thing, clearly he was okay. He went through that, but can you imagine? This boy had this, we don't know, it's a time bomb situation. He wasn't like, oh, I'm real in my feelings about my heart. I can't read. I can't do this work. I can't do this. We did have a conversation about that. And I said, son, yeah, this is one of those hurdles in life. So you don't want to put your own hurdles up. You don't want to put hurdles in your race, but there are going to be hurdles that drop out the sky, because that's what life is. And this is one of those. And the reality is that you have this condition. It's going to be taken care of. And until that happens, everything else keeps going. Everything else keeps happening. You're not just waiting for surgery and wondering. You stay occupied, you stay busy. Bam. So he gets through that. He gets 6 months, not even 6 months, and he catches Lyme disease.
Oh, wow.
So This is a young man who had whatever it took to get through a heart condition that was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? That's a mystery. That's like having something in your head you just can't get out, and a stain on you can't scratch off. But he managed that. He had a real good understanding of what he could control and a good understanding about what action to take to fix what was wrong. So I saw him literally man up to the doctor. Then when he had Lyme, he was like, oh, this is killing me. It's wearing me out. It makes me tired. I think what I'm going to do is put myself on a schedule. And he said, I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm going to see what happens. I'll go to bed at 9 o'clock, see what happens. He did this for like a year. It was kind of like a personal experiment, but this is like his junior year. Right? Now, kids try to stay up late. They're looking at TV, phone, internet, this, that, and the other.
Mine are up to 1, 2 in the morning right now.
At 9:30, we're hanging out. He's over there like, and I'm just like, all right. You know why? Because our grown ass selves, we learn 30 years, 40 years in a life. Oh, sleep matters. Right. So, but then we got a whole life of habit, and it's hard to just be like, okay, let's get that sleep down. It's a process. Sleep is serious. It's an issue across the board in life. So he literally mastered his sleep habits, and he still keeps them at 21. At 21, 18, 19, 20, 21, he's still 10 o'clock, screens down, books out. And from 10 to 11, he starts feeling sleepy. He put the book down. I think that might have extended to 12, once college kicked in. But he's up at 8 or up at 7, breakfast, 8. He's assessing what his day is going to be like. By 10, he's doing his first wave of work, somewhere around 1 or 2. He's got his workout in there. 5, 6 o'clock hour, he prepares his dinner. And then I think for the evenings, that's sort of like time with his little brother. His mom had another son with her, new partner. And I'm looking at that like, wow, you more grown than some grown folk. Like, it's crazy. And another great thing about maturation and sort of being sure about who he is and what he wants to do. So both 18 and yesterday, he refused.
Yes, alcohol. Let's hear about this birthday party, this 21st.
He refused alcohol on his 18th, and he refused alcohol on his 21st.
Wow.
I'm at fault. I'm at fault for that.
You don't drink? I was going to ask you if you bought him his first drink.
It's not that. It's not that I don't drink. It's he got into a great story. His college essay for Yale. He decided to apply early decision to Yale after basically acing high school. He was like, yeah, I
like a 1580 SAT in his junior year or something like that.
It was. And that was like without all those preps and stuff. Because he just remember the secret weapon. His mom all along is there with this like Jedi priestess, educational priestess.
Right.
I mean, she deserves to speak out because she really helped shape his love of reading and learning. When he was like 9, he started getting into pro sports. So he started watching all Philly teams because I'm from Philly. So he got into the Sixers. Why is that story? So he really fell in love, went to games, got into the gear, the hats, fan. Sports is great. It's great for all conversations. Sports gives you every topic. So bonding off of sports, watching the highlights, but sometimes ESPN will be like, oh my God, breaking news, child molestation at Penn State. I'm like, oh damn, for real, ESPN right now?
Oh no.
Right now.
Yeah,
Again,
sports
that's one of them
gets
situations where if you say something in that moment, your child will lean in versus lean away when you speak. So in that moment, I was like, I hit pause. I was like, son, you know, it's early too. It was like breakfast time. I said, child.
That's a lot for the breakfast table, yeah.
I said, but you know what, son? Here's what they mean. I was like, there's a song, Smiling Faces Sometimes. It's about people who smile at you, but they don't want to be nice to you. I kind of started it like that, and got into so what inappropriate touch could be, and what he should do, you know, arm's length, and move, get out of the room, get away quickly, you know, from this situation. Recognize if personal space is being violated, create space, and then get out of that situation as quickly as possible. But I was thrown into the fire, man, because I turned on the TV. We learned about that just like everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
But other issues like South Carolina shooting, you know, that's the first time my son saw me upset when he woke up the next day. And, you know, I said, son, I gotta talk to you about why I'm not okay right now. And it was one of our first real deep dives into racial climate in America. And I focused the talk on the inspiration of the racists. So, you know, that kid was wearing a jacket with the Rhodesian flag, country that doesn't exist. Why? I said, because he's listening to his dad, his uncle, his granddad, his friends about this wonderful white world they want. And it don't even exist. They're trying to make it real. And it's not reality, but they're trying to make it real. And that is real in life. So that's going to be something to deal with going forward. There's people out there who are just anti-information, anti-intellect, low logic, stupid on purpose. Because when you raise your child to have manners, ethics, to be smart, one of the things we're preparing them to be anomalies in this world. So we got to address that. Hey, you're going to be a little more informed. You might have a little bit more information, but how does that play out with my son? So he will synthesize that moment, South Carolina shootings. He's getting more aware. He was around 15 when that happened. He's getting more aware of society. He sees what's going on. At Yale, becomes history major because he's like, this country, what's up? Right? And
yes, sir.
And then history majors become, oh, okay, I want to law school. Because as he's gotten into the 1920, before he went to Yale, I like to employ questions. And his tenure at Yale, began during the Trump era. So it's like, what's your generation going to do to correct this? I was like, because I'm old, I'm in the cheerlead. I'm like, okay, I come out there, walk with y'all, but I'm really appreciating y'all's youthful energy. Definitely put some work in as far as working toward progress for us. But you know what? I'm also fine with cheerleading, applauding, supporting the new wave of ideas, young people, energy going forward. But it's like, what can you all do to get this place to okay? And I'll pose questions like that and open-ended, because I know his head's like, well, I'm about to be on this path to law school, and I'm about to be one of those people, Bayard Rustin. I'm gonna be one of those Thurgood Marshall. I'm gonna be one of those making a difference in the courts.
Nice.
I'm gonna be one of those. I'm getting amped because I do get amped when I talk to him about this stuff. I'm like, some people are loud and you never hear them speak because they're getting crazy work done. Their heads are down. They making it happen. They reading the legal documents. They are challenging things, through the courts. And the way this country works, you got to have all this education before you can even qualify to do that.
Right.
But he's looking at, I have been loved. My life has been good. I co-parents, but I still had two parents the whole time. Right. I had food to eat, roof over the head the whole time. I'm looking out here. I see where life's was real rough. One of the things he did still in high school to reconcile his good life was to go to the Bronx every Saturday morning to teach reading.
Nice.
That's him going, I live on Upper West Side. I'm good. I'm eating organic brown rice. So I'm not going to be like, yeah, because I'm supposed to be like that because my parents made it like that. They made my life like that. Yay, me. He's like, oh, I'm eating. I got a soft bed. I got my own bed. I got my own room. He gets that. So he's motivated to share his wealth of knowledge. And he has been very clear in his intention. He wants to get into civil rights law. He absolutely wants to teach history, specifically to high school age students, because I've been in his ear about how I was a college student learning stuff for the first time. I'm like, man, I'm like 20 years old learning stuff. If I knew that at 13, how would that have shaped me as a person?
Right.
What would I have looked at more and looked away from, or looked at less? What choices would I've made to spend time on things? A big question that I asked him, and this is one of those questions I wish was asked to me as a teenager. And this is in the lane of like birds and the bees. Hey, you got a girlfriend? What's going on? All the social stuff, right? I never asked my son if he had a girlfriend, because everybody else was. Mom, grandma, everybody. Hey, got a girlfriend? Thelonious got a girlfriend. I just sitting there. He looked at me and I just looked back and I wouldn't say anything, because he was never going to feel pressure from dad to go start a relationship,
right?
To live up to being a boy, to live up to being, just doing what people do. Because I'm the kind of person that really reflects. I think about situations in life where people had so much less and were doing a lot more. So, 15-year-old in 1920, might have been running a farm or something. So I would say to him, like, what if you're here, your whole point is some invention, something, you're going to bring something to the world. And what if you knew that now and you're working on it now until you do that? Let's say that's around 30 or so. I said, son, I don't even want you talking to me about engaged until 30. I don't want to hear it. I said, because you might have something else to do. So all this time worrying about that, who mom gonna like that, like who you like, whatever. Let that come naturally. And I told him something else extremely powerful. You know, I said, you know, even with that sexuality, I said, don't let anybody have that. Don't let anybody have that. I flipped the script all the way. I said, don't let anybody, don't be nobody's experiment. Don't be anybody's, you know, just, oh, you, I take you. And because that's where she is and she wants to take you with her.
Right.
That's for somebody who values you, who loves you. Can you imagine if you heard that? We heard, go get him. Go get him. And you know the consequences of go get him.
Yeah.
You know, fatherless children. Dudes actually having the capacity in their brains to be like, that's her problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, I can't have anything to do with that continuum.
Right.
So he's walking around like, if you want this, you come correct. But he's not even really thinking about that. He's like, oh, what if I'm here to do something great? So yeah, that's why he's got like 300 books under the belt. I mean, I'm talking like these 5, 7. Oh, dads out there now, this is not just a Yale thing. Listen, he is there. I'm so proud. It is something that I did not see. I did think he could go to anywhere he wanted. I went to Emory University in Columbia. His mom went to the new school in Columbia, right? It was kind of like, yeah, he could probably go to Columbia, you know, just by putting his name on the application.
Right.
So I had some peace with that, but again, it's going to be his choice. So while he's there, I'm like, you're the first person in the family to hit this level. I was like, you surpassed me. That's kind of the point. And he's just like, what? And I was like, yeah, man. Yeah. I ain't jealous. I ain't like, oh, you kids get this and that. You kids, oh, I didn't get to do that. F all that. It don't matter. It don't even matter. It's just a story to tell.
But so he is following in your musical footsteps. He's a DJ. I saw this great clip where he recorded a song for my father for Father's Day. Like, what?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this music? What is his DJ name? Pork Chop Willie?
Pork Chop Willie is one of them, but DJ Process is his OG name.
Okay.
And he's AKA Pork Chop Willie, AKA Melodious Thelonious.
Nice.
That was I will smile because I very consciously, with all intention, created this space for him to get into music without me saying, hey son, be into this music. So I would do things like and I hope some parents get emboldened by this, but like Kids Bop, Kids Anything, Kids Whatever version, Chipmunk version, whatever. No. Okay, they can do that. Yes, in their room, on their stereo, or in their headphones, but they're never calling the shots in the house over the adults for musical energy. No. But you're also not making a big deal out of it. I'm not saying, so we're not listening to that garbage. We're listening to this. Right. Never did that. Right. I would just, for example, he's done his homework. I go to cook dinner. I'll put on a mix. And I made a mix, a jazz mix. Somewhere in 2006 or 7, there was a t-shirt company called Friend or Foe. And I did this 37. It's almost like an instructional. It's almost educational. It's only 37 minutes. Thelonious Monk. The premise is, what if John Coltrane and Miles Davis showed up to a Thelonious Monk concert? And I try to imagine them just basically taking turns on the bandstand via existing songs and adding quotes from jazz commentators from like the 60s, overlaying. So it's like, John Coltrane feels like the way that humans express themselves, music is the purest form of expression. Something like that. Right. But I'm in there cooking. I'm like, slice, slice, whatever, stir, stir. And that's playing with those nuggets. I probably dropped that jazz mix cooking dinner, over time, probably like 50 times. So, but I never said, all right, son, we're going to listen to jazz now. We're going to listen to real music now. We're going to listen to the real stuff. Because you're automatically creating an adversarial relationship and you're automatically feeding into that fake divide of old and young. It's fake. It's fraudulent. There is no music for old people. There is no music for young people. Well, there is. Commercial America makes sure that there is music for young people, but music is all time. It's not bound to eras or anything like that. And it's just joke. That's old people music and whatever else. It's a joke. It's not real. People just trying to like not feel left out, with people into, not old music. Like, fit in, but don't be dissing people who like learned an instrument, became virtuosos, sing with their real voice, no auto-tune. Don't be waving them off like that's old and not part of life. But that's a very few people who do that. Most people got good sense. But I just kind of had the music around him. And then his mom was very key in him taking the piano lessons. He started out with classical music, taught by a jazz musician. Then we flipped the script where a classical person, as wild, was teaching him jazz. So these mindsets were merging, these multi-genre, multi-situational mindsets of playing it straight classically and then improvising riffs. And this sort of easy touch, easy guidance along the way. And something that I would do, he would practice. He would practice and be a little tentative. Sort of like, let me hit this note, this note, this note. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Every now and then, I hear like ding, 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 and I'd be like, hey. But only when he did that. And I wasn't like every practice. Good job. Oh my God, you did your practice. Mm-hmm. No. Good job. All right, get ready for dinner. Just matter of fact, another thing you did that you're supposed to be doing. Nothing special. Until you do it special. And then when you do it special, you're going to realize I've been paying attention the whole time. So where you might have thought, is he really? Now you know I'm invested. I am paying attention, but I'm not going to gas you up. I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to be like, you're the best. Oh my God. Because then, what happens? They get to 20, 25, 30, and they're like, I'm not the best. Oh my God. And it's crushing. And then that's when people got therapy. That's when people got like, oh Lord, I gotta go home for Thanksgiving. I can't help but to think in chunks of time. I grew up in that era where people ask the question, what do you think you're gonna do 5 years from now? I came up in that era. I don't know if they still ask that question. So I still think in those ways, like, all right, a couple of years do this, 5 years from now, 10 years. I really do project. And I know tomorrow's not promised, but it's one way that I have of sort of fueling myself to keep going forward, because I want to get to my dreams. I want to get there. I want to see them come to fruition. So one of my dreams is a well-adjusted young man who isn't fighting the demons of his upbringing for 20 years of his adult life. Maybe on his own, quietly, maybe through certain choices and behaviors, and then going through the process of getting naked in front of therapists after 10, 15 years of like, I don't know, something feels off. So a lot of that stuff is just carryover from youth, carryover from unresolved issues, concerns, conversations, and perhaps some carryover from maybe not being seen for who you are and only being seen for who people want you to be. And a lot of people, I feel like you might even say all people face that in some way or another. So I thought about that for him, and I thought it would be a positive if he had consciousness about that. Those ups and downs in life. But first and foremost, I just wanted him to think that, reframe the young man's 18 to 30 years and be like, yo, this is where like Langston Hughes wrote like the book that thick, or Ralph Ellison, to candlelight. You know what I mean? People who like couldn't wait to do the most, not people who couldn't wait to do the least. I'm like, they existed. They was real. They did so much with less. Look at it with all you have and hear, experience, resources. I can't imagine what you're going to do. I'll say things like that to him. I was like, can you imagine what my mom was going through when I'm like, hey, mom, I'm about to go to England. She did not see that. So that's what I did, all for like Emory, Columbia, you know, ingenuity and perseverance and effort. Well, man, you're like, you might be 20 steps ahead of where I was at the same place in terms of, you know, what's on your plate and what's on your table. So I'm not even going to try to guess. I said, but I'm going to tell you this. And this is something I sent them off to college with. I said, whatever you decide to do, I pre-approve. I got your back. Yes, already. Just hear it in your head. You think about it, hear your dad say yes. You know why I'm giving you that? Because you've never shown me that you can't handle that responsibility. You've never shown me that you know, you're halfway about something. You know, you're not halfway into something. You're not into it because they're into it. You have purpose. You have a focus. You're not going to make bad decisions. If you were going to make them, you would have been making them already. It's real when people say to their kids, and out of frustration or whatever, you know, why are you always effing up? What's wrong with you? Right? Imagine that person saying, what's wrong with you, to their own child, person they've been looking at themselves since they came out. You can't answer that question. But what happens is the kid now goes, what's wrong with me? It's like if you tell a young boy, you bad. What's wrong? You bad. If the person who is your role model in life is telling you you are bad, it's a higher possibility that you will feel like that's your normal. It's weird. It's weird how a negative can get normalized. So he hadn't made any bad decisions. And if he had a whoops or, you know, tried something and wasn't great at it, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not good at that. So he showed me over and over again discernment and understanding of himself. Now, can you imagine? I told him, I gave him this permission because, so I went to grad school, journalism. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a DJ. Then I got all this chorus, like, but what about the degree? What are you gonna do? You went to school, why? All these questions that only success would answer. That's it. And the pressure is, I would not give that to him. I would not give to him what I went through, trying to realize what I saw that I could do with most people around me not seeing what I was seeing. So I was constantly in a mode of the harder, the working harder, the being more thorough, like laying my case out. So my case would have been the tapes back in the day. So I knew if I was going to have an impact as a different kind of DJ and have a long career, I was going to have a trail because I wasn't starting off famous. You know, I'm late in the game. So I said, I got to have a bunch of mixes out that are legit, that people are like, yeah, that's good. Not me saying that's good. People saying, you made that tape? Oh, that's when you know. But again, what am I doing? I'm like in the DJ world making tapes. I'm 25, 26, 27 years old. Man, if that didn't work out, I could have been looking at 4 or 5 years at the workforce and then like, oh, now what? For him, he is not going to face that reality. He's not facing that reality. I actually do hope he gets a law degree. He decides that he will want to maybe write a comedy show. He loves comedy. You know what? Because we are in a world now that we can make more so than ever. The pandemic has cracked heads, systems, and societies to the point where you can, if you got a solid foundation, knowledge base, will, intent, focus, you can pretty much say what you're going to do and do it. Because we're in the world of unsure. Everybody's checking with the next one. You like this? You like that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Everybody asking for all these permissions. And wow, what if they had that permission from that home family, from mom and dad? They'd be like, I'm doing this. I'm good. The ultimate people got my back. So my chest is all the way out. What's up, y'all? That's how I envision my son moving through life. And all of my moves, conversations, activities, whatever, have been leading toward him being a solid grown man with a lot of opportunity, with some versatility for a world that's really not going to be the world it was for me at 20 or for my dad when he was 20. That's the past. It's over. It's gone. So there will be, and he could be the guy, the lawyer who does a jazz night, who also mentors kids. Yeah, you could do that. Totally. So that's what I've been doing with him as his dad in this co-parent situation. I learned a lot. I felt a lot of humility. And sometimes there was shame. There was, oh my God. That was basically getting my own life sort of reset and going in a direction that I wanted it to go in. Now that I understood life better, understood myself better. And that, I guess I can wrap this up with, it leads to this: a son, daughter, child looking up at their parent and seeing their parent evolve is huge, because it obliterates the I am who I am thing, which kills people. People will eat whatever they're going to eat because that's what they are. And, I don't know why I got this gout. I'm like, yes, you do. But yeah, my dad had that. I speak from experience. I ain't trying to tease nobody. He stopped drinking brews and eating crabs because of gout.
Them crab and the mussels. I'm going
Yeah,
through that right now. Shoot. I had to
so
cut out all of that shellfish, and I love me some shellfish, but it was doing me dirty.
Yeah, man, it's just I think it's important because I saw my dad do it, and I know that it motivates me in showing my son this. Who I was, 35. His mom wants to move out. Who I am, 50, 51, 52. That's a man, a grown man who has grown. Man. I had fun yesterday calling him man. I was like, what's up, man? Because I'm telling you, the is what it is thing, that I am who I am thing, it sends brothers to their graves early. Okay, so I drink like this because I can handle it. Yeah, okay, cool. I do what I do. I'm grown. I get it. But like, what if life is unpredictable? It could be hard for you for a long time, but there's thousands and thousands of stories of somebody getting put on in their 40s and their 50s. And I guess the last thing I was really trying to instill in him is you want to be fit. You want to be okay for when your moment comes, because you could be the 20-year, 25-year overnight sensation. But what happens when the spotlight swivels in your direction and you're all broken down? You're too tired to show up, or you didn't make it to the party, because you're like, I do this. That's what I do. I just do this. Man, grow the hell up. Keep growing. Keep going. Keep growing. Because there's more to you. There's more to life. I don't know it all. I'm still learning. But I like a lot of what I've learned since my son was 5 years old. It's made me better. And I can see that my son looks at me and he respects me. Ultimately, I addressed this earlier. My biggest fear was allayed by my own efforts, really, which included self-reflection, responsibility, accepting it, pinpointing where to get better and start to get better, pinpointing what can fade away, fade out, let it fade. Because life is kind of these cycles, at 10 years old, at 20 years old, you think differently than you did at 10. 30 years old, maybe you still think a lot the same as you did at 20. Probably shouldn't be thinking the same. So yeah, maybe evaluate, every few years. And this is out there. I'm not the only person that says this. I think Black Thought even talks about it. Just like self-assess and just be real, be okay with like, I'm gonna let that go, because there's a phrase, give up to get. People focus a lot on it. I'm giving this up. But what you get from what you give often is more, gives you more energy, and is more empowering, more emboldening. You stand taller, your voice is stronger. People look at you and they see your choices have made a difference in how you present and move through life. Because ultimately it comes down to show and prove. So that's why I didn't really do too much. You need to do this or you need to do that, because I'm not an authority. I learned on the job. I thought about things. I thought deeply about things. I thought about cause and effect. I thought about the near and the far future. And ultimately, if you want to say, I meditated. And And what I saw at the end of that meditation is just my arm around my son, his arm around me, eye to eye, smiles, laughs, tears, whatever, but we're connected. We're holding each other up. We're pushing or pulling each other through all the way through life, all the way. That's my vision. So I'm going to see that happen. And as a result, Thelonious is 21 years old, finishes junior year, starts his senior year at Yale, hopefully on campus. And this summer, he was working for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law, which recently was helmed by Kristen Clark, who is now in the U.S. Justice Department working with Merrick Garland as the head of the Civil Rights Division. So the rhetoric, something I say to him often, live your rhetoric. Not to him about because he doesn't really have rhetoric. I did definitely want my son to not be a talker. I was like, yeah, do your work, do it, and then show people what you did. Don't talk about what you're doing. Do it, and then show people what you did. So it's my invisible man theory. You don't need to be seen all the time, but when people do see you, you're doing something good. But those little nuggets, man, he takes them to heart. And I know for a fact, he's going to get to work. He's going to be a part of history. In this internship, he's already been like deep diving on some like Republicans in Oklahoma. Keeping track of things that they saying for future court cases. So I'm proud as hell because I'm a Black man. He is going after this system in a way where he might be like a Bayard Rustin, where people find out who he was 30, 40 years later, because they'll see his name on all these documents that help, move things forward and then help keep things forward. So he knows what his challenge is. He's up for it. I'm really happy that he has a direction. He knows what his life is for until 25 at least. He has this open permission to go for his, whatever it is. And please, holler at me when you're 30 about family and love, because this is your time, man. And the construct of families and, we're no longer in the eras of a 22-year-old mom and dad have 2 kids already. That does still happen, but not as a rule, not as a norm.
Right.
So we don't have to be tethered to old norms to the point where we're going to change our life to fit them, especially if so many people, most of society, is kind of flexible about things. So I just wanted him to not think that he needs to run out here and go wild. That sort of rite of passage, because I'm like, whose rite of passage is that? Is it yours? Could be. I ain't gonna be mad at you. You're human. You're male, young. But yeah, you might have something incredible to do, bro. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that turns out to be.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to end, yo. Thank you so much, Qool Marv, for this fatherhood TED Talk and on how to raise a revolutionary. This has been beautiful, brother. I'm just sitting here wrapped in attention for the last 2 hours. This is easily the longest one we've ever done, but I hung on every word, and I hope the listeners really absorb everything that you were putting down today, man. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm about to go turn on a mix and maybe go make some dinner myself.
Yeah,
Qool
man.
Marv mix.
Just put it on. Let them be like, "What's this?"
Yes.
It's a little tiny flip of the script. Because if you say, "I'm gonna play this," they'll be like, "Ew." You put someone that's good, they'll be like, "What? What's that? What's that?"
We're about to get it popping, brother. Thank you
I appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thanks for all the extra time. I appreciate just sort of letting me flow.
Yes.
And I was emotional and feeling that. I'm glad I didn't have to use the tissues. I think I just had a ball. All that was just right here.
Just let it out.
The birthday was yesterday. So
yes,
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And give our best to Thelonious.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Take
Peace
care.
and love. Peace and love. Thank you.
Peace.
If you're enjoying Fathers Who Bother, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Fathers Who Bother and Twitter at Fathers Who Be. Thanks.